So all that glitters is gold, usually, and we have that shimmery resonance in our bodies that says, oh, my heart's picked up a beat, oh, I've got goosebumps, oh, this is something important to me. Because sometimes our body knows before our beautiful brains know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Welcome back to Fireside Chats. Here we are, thinking about all that glitters is gold. I wore my sequin skirt for you all today because I have been working on a content topic for my year-long mastermind members. I have 2 masterminds that go for a year, and I do live training in there twice a month. And I also do live events in person and virtual. And this month is live event month for one of my masterminds, and we do 2 days in depth together. And so the topic is all that glitters. And there's 2 frames that I'm looking at. One is the Shrek song, all that glitters is gold. You know that song? Which is like anything that glitters is gold. And then there's the Shakespeare version, which is all that glitters is not gold. Both are true, right? So with my glittery skirt, we're going to talk about all that glitters and why we use it to help ourselves figure out what is right for us. And when sometimes the thing that's all shiny and sparkly is not actually right for us, and how confusing that can be. So let's start with the idea that when something sort of sparkles or shimmers at you, or you dream of something, that it tends to be that you don't dream of something that doesn't belong to you. So let's start there. When you dream of becoming an apple farmer, that is your dream, obviously in an inaccurate statement, and most of them don't dream of becoming an apple farmer. Most of them dream their dreams of growing into the version of who they really are. So the philosophy generally is you don't dream of something that doesn't belong to you. That's kind of the sparkly thing. So if something's sparkling at you, it probably belongs to you. Let's grow into the version of you that has it. That's really reasonable. Let's do the Shakespeare one. All that glitters is not gold. This is the idea that something is dipped in 14 karat gold and underneath is a metal that tarnishes your skin and leaves a copper mark. That's the idea, the thing that looks like it should be good, but it marks you and hurts you. So we've got these 2 very different philosophies. How do you know what the right thing is to do when it comes to making your own decisions? How do you know which one is real gold and which one isn't gold? And if we go into existential psychology or philosophy, we can look at the idea of a life path that has a series of choices and use your body, mind, soul connection to feel your way into choosing the things that belong to you. It's like when you're a kid and you understand what your favorite color is, and you understand what your favorite animal is, and you understand kind of what you want to be when you grow up. And then as you're growing up and evolving, those things might stay the same or they might change. And that change across a lifetime is reasonable. So what we're really talking about here is how do you know what belongs to you as you grow across your lifespan? How do you make sure that the things that you feel like are your things and they're not going to tarnish with age and you'll regret your decisions? And how do you have the courage to pursue the things that maybe are the things that belong to you, but they're just really hard? So let's talk about the things that belong to you that look like there's something important, and it turns out they actually turned your fingers green. Because that is, I think, the reason why humans lose their courage and they lose their sense of trust in self and trust in the world. And to be able to do this as a conversation, we need to go to a 10,000-foot view and kind of look down. And we need to look down and say, okay, here's the thing about this dream that I had. I dreamt of becoming an apple farmer, and I went and bought a plot. I have a couple of acres. I now have these apples, and it's really hard to grow apples, and it's really hard to produce a good crop, and it's really hard to sell them for a profit. Actually, the whole thing's really hard. But you followed your sparkly, shimmery feelings of wanting to be an apple farmer, and it took you to a new village or a new town or a new type of place in the country that you live in. It brought you a whole lot of new skills. It depleted your bank account, yes, but perhaps it increased your sense of agency and self. You made a new community, and you were then able to branch out into other apple orchard related products. And so the apple orchards didn't produce the thing that you thought was going to be the end goal, but going towards the apple orchards actually was the thing that shimmered. And then you access that experience. It didn't work out the way you thought it would, but then you were able to see all of the things you built because you followed that shimmery thing to find the version of you that had the dream on your heart and lived it. So actually there's a lot of success there, even amongst the failures. And I think it's failure that's really tricky when you're a human. It's a tricky thing because we don't like the experience of failing. We don't like it when we have this sense of, I wanted to be an apple farmer and I can't make money from my apples. I'm a failure. And so then we're like, well, I shouldn't follow the things that are good for me. Obviously, I don't make good choices. Obviously, these things, everything's against me kind of thing. That's a reasonable initial experience when something hasn't worked out the way that you wish that it would. And if we were to zoom out and take that 10,000 foot view, I think if you were able to do this for a loved one, you'd be able to say, but look at all the things that you built along the way. Look at all the experiences you gathered. And now your love or your dream and your attunement to self to be able to read that dream and recognize that you wanted to become an apple farmer and take all the steps that had you move to a place where you could realize that dream, even though it didn't work itself out in the entirety for the rest of your life. You're now having to pivot, you're now having to expand. What if we coded that as right? And what if the tarnish that was left on your skin because the 14 karat gold had worn off and you were like, well, I've got this mark here from this experience. It's hurt me, it's marked me, it's left me less than I wish that I was. What if we said, yeah, that's a wisdom stride. That's one of those things that is a byproduct of going for your dreams and seeing what happens. You know that whole phrase, you shoot for the moon and if you fall, you'll land among the stars. It is the act of going towards the things that are shiny, that are good for you. So they're in your heart, mind, body coherence. They're in that soul path idea for you. The ideas that perhaps you see as God or source or universe planting for you. When you go for them and they work somewhat out, but they still mark you or hurt you in some way, that doesn't mean it's not a success. It means that it's taken you to the next version of your life, and now your job is to reattune back in and find the next thing that sort of shimmers or calls to you. And maybe, we'll stay in the apple farm idea, maybe you graft a new plant onto your apple trees and now you grow a hybrid. Maybe you plant something at the bottom and you harvest that at alternative times of the year. Maybe you keep goats or chickens in the orchards and they keep away your pests and you sell the eggs or you sell the milk. All of a sudden, the original idea that was calling you to become an apple farmer, it has grown beyond what you could ever have imagined. But if you didn't attune to the shimmer or the glimmer or the idea that this belongs to me, this is my dream, and then take action steps, then you wouldn't be in this place where now you are expanding beyond that. So all that glitters is gold, usually, and we have that shimmery resonance in our bodies that says, oh, my heart's picked up a beat. Oh, I've got goosebumps. Oh, this is something important to me. Because sometimes our body knows before our beautiful brains know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. So back to the all that glitters is not gold. What if we go down that pathway that you will not pass you by? That's an important one. And then the other idea is just because something didn't work out and it left a mark on you doesn't mean it was wrong, doesn't mean it wasn't a worthy experience. And what if we were to trust the things that happened to you as things that were there to serve you in your expansion of your experience of life? And even when they mark you, even when it wasn't gold, it's actually incredibly valuable. So everything you pick up that hurts or adds to your pain body as a human, we tend to not want because it hurts. And the things that hurt us are usually where the alchemy of expansion and growth and maturity come from, because it's the materials of that pain that we use to satisfy our curiosity about why we're in pain. and to build a skill or an understanding or a way out of that experience of life so that we have access to a different life. That's actually where wisdom lives. So perhaps what we're saying is, if something glitters and shimmers at you and it's a good choice for you that's moving you towards who you want to be, towards a version of you that you want to expand into, and it turns out it wasn't gold, it tarnished you, it left a mark on you, what we're seeing then in this kind of graph of life is that it still took you up a long way, even though it dropped you back down. And in the drop back down, the pain body gathering of the things that didn't work is the materials for the next big uplift, the next big possibility for expansion. You know, when you're lovely and old and you're reflecting on your life and you're looking at all the things that you did and the impact that you had, and you're looking and feeling into the legacy that you leave behind, you're going to find satisfaction in the journeys you took, in the journey to the destinations of the things that were high and the things that were low and the problems that you solved and the way that you came out of it. That's where your satisfaction is going to come from. So if you start harnessing this idea that if something calls to you and you follow it and it works out or it doesn't, either way, you're actually doing life really well and you're growing and you're expanding and you're fulfilling your potential as a human. That's actually something that at the end of your lovely long life, you're going to be really grateful for. So I guess what we're circled back to here is, if something calls for you, it is for you. Something that you dream of that's taking a while to come is still going to come, and that you have the time and space and opportunity to grow into the version of you, whether you're in the part with all of the pain or if you're in the part with all of the possibility. Both of those parts of you exist always. And sometimes you're more in pain and sometimes you're more in possibility and sometimes they move around quite rapidly. But that is the normal human experience. So your job is to notice, what are the things that are calling you to do? What do you dream of? Because again, you don't dream of something that doesn't belong to you. So what do you dream of? And what next right step do you need to take to start to be the person who buys the apple farm, who grafts a new type of apple tree? What kind of next right decision do you need to make that allows you to reconcile your feelings about the things that shimmer and glitter to you, particularly if they've hurt you? Or what do you need to do to expand that experience? Because either way, life is going to happen for you. Time is going to pass. You may as well live a life that belongs to you. You may as well enjoy yourself and the pain that comes with being a human. You're never going to avoid that pain. So how do we make friends with that pain and start walking the path that allows us to grow into the full expression of who we are, if that's the thing that's on our heart? Because if we don't follow that path, we are going to move away from the things that are important to us. And we're going to regret that later in our timeline. All right, drop your comments below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.